a very aggressive trade union campaign against the Australia-China Free Trade Agreement, and the Labor Party said that it wants improvements to that agreement. What's your response to this?
I'd ask them to be really cautious that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on this one. We've got delegations in here. It is our major market. If you start saying to your major market that you don't want to trade with them, then what happens if they decide that they'll take you up on the offer? What happens when you get to a point where they say, OK, well, we won't buy your stuff? Guess who loses their jobs? The meat workers out there, out in the corner of Tamworth, the meat workers up in Rockhampton. Is that what you want? I mean, let's understand that we're in a Southeast Asian economy. It's not a perfect economy, but it's the best economy to be in globally, which means we're going to be trading with one another. Now, we've got to look after our interests at home. We've got to make sure that we do the right thing by the people at home, but we cannot start with this sort of scare campaign. I'll tell you exactly what their scare campaign is, that we're going to be flying all these workers from overseas and they're going to come to Australia and take everybody's jobs. Well, that's wrong, OK? That is completely and utterly wrong. Jobs have to be advertised locally. They have to be given the appropriate amount of time so local people who want the jobs, if they want the jobs, can take the jobs. People have to be employed at Australian wages and Australian conditions. Now, if you can't find people for those jobs or they have specialised skills, then we should be able to try and get the project ahead. We've got so many mining projects in the north of our nation which wouldn't happen if we didn't have people coming in from overseas in some instances to do jobs. We've got a lot of people in this city on 457 work visas who work at the abattoirs. Do the other workers say, no, we don't want them? Of course not, because they do the jobs that other people don't want to do. And I think it's just common sense. This is the way that we grow. This is the way that everybody gets a job. This is the way we expand the whole show. And this is how we bring more money into our nation so we can support all the things that they also say they want. Because they want good schools and they want good hospitals and they want new roads and they want new airports and they want and they want and they want. Well, somebody somewhere has got to put something on the boat and send it back in the other direction to pay for it. Therefore, we've got to have these agreements in place so we can do precisely that.
How confident are you that the government can win a political fight on this issue, given the strength of the union campaign saying that there will be jobs lost to China?
Well, I'm happy, and I'm happy to start right now. Let's take, for instance, as an example, this city. We've got about $200–300 million worth of expansion of the abattoir facilities, predominantly to service big new markets in Southeast Asia. That's going to employ your bricklayers, your concreters, the people in your boning room, your computer programmers, your people in the medical field, people in the rural science field. Now, all these people get jobs if we crack these markets, and we can deliver a good long-held supply avenue into China, Vietnam, Japan, Korea. Now, if there are jobs that people don't want to do, such as packing offal, I don't know how many people want to go in there and pack lungs or pack hearts all day, but I tell you what, it's a job that some people just don't want to do. But there are people overseas who do want to do it. And if they want to do it and we can't fulfil that job in the abattoir, then why shouldn't those people get that job? Because that gives everybody else a job. See, in the end you can say, OK, we won't trade with anybody, but what that means is you don't get a $300 million or $300 million expansion of facilities here in Tamworth, and nobody gets a job. This way, you know, we start to grow the whole economy. And this is something that is in our advantage. And likewise, and there are so many areas. I was up near Katherine the other day, Mataranka, and the only people who want to go out into the near deserts in the Northern Territory and pick mangoes for our export market are people from overseas. The locals in 45 degrees are not really keen on the idea. They want to do other jobs.
Minister,
so, what does that mean? We just shut down the mango farm and say, oh, well, it's all too hard, let's go.